Rabia would put up hindrances and roadblocks, trying to stop me from seeing Aziz. She would schedule soccer games during my weekends, and she would make up excuses about him being sick. So she would try to prevent him from seeing me.
It seems that during that whole period, she was meeting with lawyers, she was finding out about custody, she was figuring out what she needed to do in order to keep Aziz in Atlanta.
Ultimately, Rabia wanted Aziz to have nothing to do with his life, in New Orleans.
All right, Khalid and Bourgeois now face charges of kidnapping, forgery, identity theft, lying to authorities, and also trespassing because they were at that vacant home. For their part, Aziz's family says, we were overwhelmed with joy that Aziz has finally been found. My next guest knows exactly what that moment feels like. At age 14, Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped and held captive for 9 months. Her story gripped the nation. She is now a child safety advocate and author, and she joins me live now. Elizabeth, it's an honor to speak with you. You did an amazing job filling in on this show, by the way. I watched the night that you filled in a couple months back, so that was awesome to see, and we appreciate you coming on again tonight. What went through your mind when you heard this story about Aziz?
I mean, of course, first is heartbreak, but then realizing that he's been found, to me, that is just, that is such a miracle. We should all be celebrating it. And it should be such a huge reminder that we cannot give up on any missing person because you never know when they're going to be found. It might not be the first 24 hours. It might not be the first year. I mean, we look at Aziz's case right here, and it was 7 years, half of his life. So what a miracle. And let us all remember to always keep our eyes open and always pay attention no matter where we are.
It's interesting that parent abduction is apparently the most common form of abduction, which I don't think people necessarily realize. Is it as traumatic when it's a parent who's responsible?
It is the most common form of abduction. And actually, as I've met with survivors over the years, I have had so many of them come to me and say, people think because I was kidnapped by my parent or by my mom or by my dad or, by a family member, that it wasn't that bad, but it was terrible. So for us to sit here and look at Aziz's case right now, we should by no means say like, oh, well, whatever he went through isn't that bad because he was with his mom. The truth is, we don't know what he went through. And as a survivor myself, I can say like, I'm grateful that I was kidnapped by a stranger. I'm grateful that I was raped and abused by a stranger because I can't imagine how deep that betrayal would feel if it was by a parent or a family member, someone who's supposed to love me and protect me and kind of be that shield for me in the world. So I think as we look at Aziz's case, like we need to respect his family's wishes. And I think we can't make a judgment call on what he's been through right now or brush it off as maybe not being that bad because it was his mother who kidnapped him.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was just thinking how confused he must be because you're with your mother, 7 years go by, who knows what he went through during that time or what she may have done to him, but now he sort of has to reacclimate to his father and the poor dad, but it must just be very confusing for that little boy.
I mean, confusing probably for the whole family. I know in my case, my parents wanted to support me. They wanted to help me in any way that they could, but they didn't know what I'd been through. I personally did not want to speak about what I'd been through. And so, I mean, sometimes it was kind of like, well, what can we do for you? How do we help you? And where Aziz has been gone for so long, it's almost going to be like probably meeting a new person for the first time. And I mean, 7 years, like half a lifetime, that's a lot of time to make up for.
Yeah, obviously, hopefully he'll be in therapy, and it's just a terrible situation for him, but at least he'll be reunited with his dad, who I can't imagine what the dad, he's a victim too in all of this, obviously. Elizabeth Smart, it was a pleasure having you on tonight. You're just a fearless fighter, and we appreciate you taking the time.
As always, thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.